and welcome to ET Now Startup Central, the first and only daily show dedicated to startups and entrepreneurship. I'm Chandra R. Shrikant, coming to you live from India's startup capital, Bangalore, and we have a power-packed show lined up for you over the next 20 minutes.
That's right, and I'm Kumar, coming to you live from ET Now's Mumbai studios. First up, a look at all that's making headlines in the world of startups. Uber's founder and CEO Travis Kalanick's candid chat like never before with students at IIT's Bombay campus, from tips on how to champion startups with co-founders and how to deal with investors. We get you an exclusive peek into all the action. Apple officially kickstarts the paperwork with the Indian authorities to launch Apple stores in India. It's looking to take full advantage of the relaxed FDI norms for single brand retail by going online as well. It's an all-out war of words between TRAI and Facebook as the telecom regulator slams FB over its campaign to save its zero ratings platform Free Basics, calls it orchestrated. And if you're a startup, here's one more place to seek finance, an inside peek into SBI's first branch for startups on the show. And straight up, we have Uber's iconic founder and CEO Travis Kalanick's fireside chat, as they called it, with the students of IIT-Bombay. Chandra, I was there and it was absolutely amazing, and you've got hold of all the entire video feed, haven't you?
That's right. You know, it's not every day that the founder of one of the world's hottest startups gives you lessons in business at your college campus. But as you said, that's exactly what happened at IIT-Bombay. And we've really curated the 10 most important lessons in business that Travis Kalanick had to give to these engineering students, aspiring startups. We're calling it Travis's Top 10. This is something that you don't want to miss. Take a look.
I'd probably just start with what I call the champion's mindset. The champion's mindset, I think a lot of people hear the word champion, they think of a famous sports star. You might think of, in the US, you might think of Michael Jordan or LeBron James going and dunking on somebody. But we think of it differently. We think of it as, well, when you get on the field, put everything you have into it. Put every ounce of energy you have on the field. Leave nothing on the field. And two, when you get knocked down, because if you're an entrepreneur, inevitably you will be. When you see hard times and you get knocked down, get back up. And if you keep putting everything you got into it and you keep getting back up when you get knocked down, it's almost impossible to fail. Some people say, when did you become an entrepreneur? I'm like, I was born that way. It's a DNA thing. What it comes down to, the way of the entrepreneur is actually about looking at the world and finding problems. It's actually, some people think that's a negative mindset, but actually I find it is like it's a curious mindset. Is you're out there looking for problems, looking for things that aren't the way they should be or could be.
So curiosity is one.
Curiosity.
At a high level.
Then there's sort of like a fierceness to go find a problem that you fall in love with, and then it's a fierceness to go solve it. And really push. If you want to do it, you got to push until it hurts. Because if it's not hurting, then somebody else is going to push harder. And they're going to do it, and you're going to be sitting there going, wow, that was amazing. And you're going to be sitting on the sidelines. The harder funding is when you don't have that curve. And you're trying to convey that that curve exists without any proof that it does, right? And so you have to then become a phenomenal storyteller. You have to really get into the guts of what makes the idea good and what can capture the imaginations of your customer, as well as, sort of by transitively your investor. And so storytelling becomes a big part of that. And that's important when you're just getting going.
But it looks like it's almost critical, because I think, and I do talk to a lot of people when I say actually communicating your idea whichever way you can. Figure out a way in which you're going to be. You don't need to be the best orator, but you need to figure out how you're going to communicate your vision. But the storytelling comes up a lot, and I think that's part of the inhibition for a lot of people that says, yeah, but I'm an introvert, I'm not a good storyteller. Does that mean I'm not going to be able to go out there? Will I always be second rank? Will I not be able to raise the right amount of funds?
Well, look, if you can't communicate, you probably should get a co-founder that can. Even if you're an introvert, if you don't got hustle in you, you better get a co-founder that does. And if you don't got enough hustle to find a co-founder that's got hustle, then it's going to be tough.
You got a problem.
It's going to be tough. So you got to have a little hustle, man. You got to get out there. You got to.
So now you need
have a little jugaad in there, and make shit happen.
So now you need a great idea. Then you need some funding. Then you need the guts and the risk-taking ability, and you need a co-founder, or you need to be a great communicator.
The jugaad that will get you your funding, right? That will get you a lot of things. That will get you something working when maybe it's not quite working, which, by the way, is the way of the entrepreneur, is you have limited resources and you got to make shit happen.
I think in India, the interpretation sometimes sounds like it's a shortcut to something. And I think that's really where the big challenge is, and I think that's a strong message that needs to...
I like to say, in the US we'd say, turn lemons into lemonade. But if you're always be jugaading, you make lemonade out of thin air. Your job as an entrepreneur is to be an expert chess player and to see the move so far ahead that when you do get the question from the investor, you basically go, oh, that's an interesting move. I thought about it, but here's the 1,800 reasons why it doesn't work. And here is the move that for 3,650 reasons is the right move. And when you explain the full complexity of it, and you do it for like an hour and 20 minutes, you'll never get a question from that investor again.
So that's why you need the co-founder that's going to do the communication for everybody, I can see, right?
That could be the introvert. The introvert could explain that. That's not a problem. The hustler co-founder is the one that got the investor in the first place. Subsidies and large burning of cash is a Chinese invention. And it's a pretty interesting innovation, and one I had to learn about. I know how to build profitable businesses, but China is fiercely competitive. And because of it, you have to just put everything you got in plus all the cash you got. Because, well, the upside is going to be very huge. And I think in some ways, India's become fiercely competitive as well in that way. And so you have to ask yourself, well, first, for an entrepreneur that's used to building a profitable business, that is an uncomfortable place. And so you try to, but in order to compete, you have to do it. And so so what I try to do is I try to contain the irrational. What I try to do is I say, well, I guess I have to spend this much because my competitor is spending that much. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend every single one of those dollars, say it was 10 million or 100 million or $1 billion, whatever it is. I'm going to spend every single one of those dollars or every single one of those rupees, I'm going to spend it more efficiently than the other guy. When you have a board and things aren't going well, I have another move.
And that is?
So you still do you still do the chessboard thing, but because you're not succeeding, you can't really drop the mic, you know what I mean? You're like, this is great, it's amazing. He's like, yeah, but you still suck. And so then when they ask questions, what you do is you get the email, which is a question, and the move is you don't answer right away. You just sort of sit on the email for 2 or 3 days, almost to the point where they forget, and when they remind you about the email, then you answer. And so then they get in this sort of learned thing where they basically start asking fewer and fewer questions. What the worst thing you can do, and literally in Silicon Valley, I have really high-profile CEOs that run multi-billion-dollar companies, and they're having issues with their board, and I'm like, dude, you just do this. It's super easy. They're like, no, because I ask them, what do they do? They're like, yeah, I just respond right away. I'm like, no, because then it's just, then another question comes, then another question, and then you're not working. You're just explaining the chess game.
And you think, and from that perspective, you've had a good, interesting experience with Michael Ovitz and then with Mark Cuban at different stages in your career.
Yeah.
And you've been quite cryptic about them in public forums also.
Oh, no, look, you know.
But now you're at the stage where life moves on, or?
Well, look, here's the point is like, man, when you are in tough times as an entrepreneur, things are way harder than when it's 10 years ago, right? When it's 10 years ago, I'm just got the swagger, I'm like telling you funny stories, and it sounds great. But when you're in it, you're sweating. And so, you know, I make it sound easy and fun, but guys, it's only fun after 5 years of therapy or something. Part of the game, remember I call it 3-dimensional or 6-dimensional chess. But the point is, it's just a problem that needs to be solved. Everything's a problem that needs to be solved. And that's why I'm just so pro-engineer, because the engineering curriculum is all about breaking problems down and then building it back up. And so we are the master problem solvers.
And therefore, engineers should be the best entrepreneurs in the world, always.
And they usually are.
Exactly.
Just saying.
Uber has 2 co-founders. So I'm sure it's not a depleting law of averages for you. But
so here's the way to think about it. Don't have 6 co-founders. Don't do it. Don't do it. We would basically have like 6-hour meetings on what color the pen should be. It was insane. If you can have a co-founder, but it depends on your personal style. Like if you do it alone, it will be incredibly lonely. So you got to be up for that, especially in the hard times. Yeah, so if you can get one, you should.
So your formula is 2 or 3, but definitely not 6.
Yeah, you should have 1 co-founder, and then I think 2 is ideal because then you still got 50%. It's pretty good.
But definitely having a co-founder seems to be pretty critical.
It's not absolutely necessary. It depends on your style. It depends on your personality. It just depends on a lot of things.
But I think it's mostly about being lonely at the top. I think it's mostly about that.
Yeah, so hard times, you have somebody to jam with. And that's helpful, especially when it's small and it's hard times. When it's big, you're going to have lieutenants and whatnot that you're going to have a really good relationship with. But when it's small and it's tough, that's when that is really nice. And in my last company, I started with a co-founder, but things got a little weird, and then it was just me on my own. If you do something amazing or something interesting, there'll be other companies that compete and want to bring that amazing thing to their region or do that amazing thing in a different way. And what I say is, we've got competition. We do have competition here, right? I sleep 2 hours less a night because of it. I want those 2 hours back. But it makes us work harder for the riders and drivers, is basically at the end of the day. And look, January of last year, we were 4% market share. Okay? January this year, we're 40% or thereabout. And 3 of India's top 5 cities, more citizens of that city prefer Uber. So we're over 50% in 3 of those cities. So look, we are out there, we're competing, we got fierce competition here, but ultimately it's going to serve riders and drivers that competition exists, and we learn from them, and they learn from us, and we go out there and do the best we can.
I think the most important takeaway for me is one has to learn to play chess to become as successful as Travis Kalanick. But Krishna, I know you're really excited about the next story.
Oh, absolutely, and nobody could be more excited than me. And this one is for all those of you who waited a long time for the Apple Store to come to India just like me. And well, there's some good news in store for us. Apple has officially kick-started the paperwork with the Indian authorities and is looking to take full advantage of the relaxed FDI norms for single brand retail by going online in the Indian market as well. Here's a quick report. You could go shopping in one of these stores very soon. The Apple stores, famed for their ambience and unparalleled customer experience, are a step closer to opening here in India. Apple India has filed an application to open its own Apple-branded stores with the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion. While there's no specifications in terms of how much investment it would make and the number of stores it would open, Apple has also sought government approval to sell its products online in the Indian market. DIPP Secretary Amitabh Kant has confirmed receiving the proposal and said that the examination process is on. The Cupertino-based company currently sells its iPhones, iPads and Mac computers in India through third-party resellers. Apple's retail expansion plans in India comes at a time when sales in the country have crossed the $1 billion mark for the first time last year. It also comes at a time where concerns about slowing growth in the United States and China, the world's most important market for smartphones, have weighed on the company's stock in the last few months.
From one US tech giant to another, we are talking about Facebook, which is engaged in a war of words with the telecom regulator TRAI. TRAI has now slammed Facebook over its attempts to save its zero-rating platform Free Basics. For more details on that, we are joined by Gauri Dwivedi, who tracks TRAI very closely. Gauri, give us the latest on this and what's expected next as far as the whole Free Basics issue is concerned.
The war of words is definitely getting ugly between TRAI and Facebook on the very contentious issue of Free Basics platform of Facebook. In fact, in a very sternly worded letter, the TRAI has told Facebook that its entire campaign around saving the Free Basics platform, the zero-rated product platform of Facebook, is to a large extent an orchestrated opinion poll and really demonstrates a majoritarian view, and that has very, very dangerous implications for policy making. So clearly the TRAI, the regulator, is not mincing its words in explaining to Facebook that the entire campaign of the company, the kind of money it has put behind its entire advertising and marketing strategy, has not gone down well with the regulator. In fact, the TRAI has also said that the entire issue is not just about Free Basics but about differential pricing, and that is still something that hasn't been answered by the respondents. TRAI has also said that it's Facebook's continued assertion that the templated responses that were given by FB users is actually the best response that can be given, is something that TRAI feels is wholly misplaced. So clearly the war of words between TRAI and Facebook looks like is far from over. An open house on this issue is expected tomorrow, and then recommendations on this matter are expected by the end of the month. But one thing is for sure, Free Basics platform and Facebook's continued support of that is something that hasn't gone down very well with the regulator, stating it in so many words.
Facebook's Free Basics campaign not going down well with the telecom regulator. Gauri Dwivedi, thank you so much for bringing us the update on that burning issue. Moving on. The country's oldest bank wants a bigger pie of the new economy, the startup economy. The State Bank of India has launched its first branch dedicated to startups called, quote-unquote, InCube. ET Now's Rahul Dayama gives us an inside view of what's on offer.
If you're a startup here in Bangalore, what is it that you can expect from this branch? One, this would be a place for you to avail financial services. Also, experts from areas of taxation, legal advice will also be present here. In fact, there's a separate Forex department also here, which would help startups in remittances and receiving VC money. What you cannot expect is SBI will not be lending to startups because they feel that it's a high risk appetite business, and they can probably at a later stage look at giving loans to startups, but no sort of funding will be given to startups here. Interestingly, the one thing that you wouldn't really expect in a bank is something like this, an open cafeteria and inviting space, something that's common across startups. This space has specifically been made to connect with startups. So when startups come here, they can spend some time, jam. There would be magazines. The tax consultant would sit out of here. A CA would sit out of here, who would really give startups insights into the workings, the regulatory environment, really. And of course, the last thing that you would expect in a bank would be a space like this, cafeteria. We understand going forward, SBI would also facilitate meetings with VC firms and angel investors, and startups can in fact come spend some time here and also work out of this place going forward.
Not so sure how much interest the startup branch is going to attract, because profitable startup is really a contradiction. But coming to the final segment of the show, the number we are crunching for you today is rupees 40,800 crores. Now that's not the valuation of a Sensex or a Nifty company, but the personal net worth of Uber founder and CEO Travis Kalanick, the fortune that he's built for himself in the last 6 years. If you're a skeptic, you will say this is far lesser than a Mark Zuckerberg or Bill Gates, that Uber is now just a paper tiger, but 40,800 crore is still something. Krishna, are you going to be India's answer to Travis Kalanick?
Chandra, every single day you throw to me with a number that leaves me dumbfounded. Yesterday it was 5 million job losses because of artificial intelligence and robots, and today you're talking about 40,800 crore rupees. Who doesn't want to be an entrepreneur when they look at a number like that? And keeping in mind that guy is not even 40 years old. Yes, I want to be an entrepreneur. And Chandra, I would like you to be my co-founder right here on the startup as well. And on that note, we wrap things up.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.